Three, two, one. What's up, everyone? I've got Andy Duwe on the line. He is Sales Development Team Lead over at Ambition. Andy, how's it going?
It's going well, Mark, man. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you again, and excited to chat a bit about sales dev and etc.
Dude, well, I'm just glad that you're on the show. They call Andy, when I first reach out to him, they call him the dial monster. So I'm just gonna call you the dial monster for the rest of the show, if that's cool with you.
That's cool, man. Yeah,
Awesome. So of course,
it's a name my 4-year-old would probably like. I don't think I've told it to him yet, but
you need to. Awesome. So we always start with the triple whammy. That is, how's your day going? What's something you learned today? And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking espresso because I just ate lunch. So I need a little afternoon pick me up. Big espresso fan. We got the espresso machine a couple years back, and
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about, baby.
never looked back. So it's how I start my day,
That's tight.
sustain my day, and sometimes end my day. But
Oh my gosh.
yeah, got the Dewey's mug right here, heat changing. My wife got me
That's tight.
because she loves me. Um, and what did I learn today? Whew. Geez, I wasn't prepared for that question. Um, what did I learn today? I learned that it can snow in Buffalo in May, but I already knew that. It's snowing out today. Um, I think the only thing I really learned today so far is we spent about an hour over here at Ambition on a go-to-market all-hands call, learning about some new product packaging
Ooh, very cool.
for the platform. So it's pretty cool. Like something that we've never really done before is offering different pieces and components of the platform
Yeah,
in different packaging. So to fit people's needs, more custom. So we're just going over the ins and outs of that, trying to memorize it so we know it when we're reaching out to folks. And yeah, that's pretty cool. It should open some doors for us in terms of being able to work with lots of different people with their different needs and stuff like that.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's dive in. Kind of give us the lay of land of where you're at for quota this year, last year. Kind of give us the laydown.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I would say right now at Ambition, we're tracked on a couple different metrics for quota for commission. SQL, sales qualified leads. So after a first call, disco call, if it leads to a next step, that turns into an SQL, and we get comped on that. We have a
Okay.
quota on that. And then the second metric is just projected revenue. So annual contract value of the deal.
Okay.
So right now at Ambition, I just broke 2 million in pipeline for the year,
Oh boy.
and my monthly quota is 134,000. So 4 months in would be, I'm not great at math, but 260,
Jeez.
little over 500, 520. So it's about 400%. And then my SQL goal, I'm at
No big
about,
deal.
yeah, it helps. It helps keep my wife happy. And SQLs, my quota 7 a month. So I'm at like, I think we talked about this the other day, like 160, 170
Holy
to quota
cow.
for the year. So it's a cool program because I think they did a really good job to incent us,
Yeah.
on the SDR team over here with our goal for the year was to really move up market and bring in bigger deal sizes,
Yeah.
bring in better deals for the sales team so they could more easily obviously hit their targets for this year.
Sure.
So where in the past we were comped on just meetings set, or not meetings set, but meetings held, like first meetings happening, we got a certain amount for it, and then if it turned into an op, we got a certain amount on top of it. Now
Yeah.
we don't even get paid if a meeting happens unless it turns into an op, and then we get
Mm,
paid a percentage of the ACV. So it's like really changed the way I went about things from a targeting perspective, because it's
yeah.
super important for me to get big deals in so I can hit my ACV goals. That's how I can make like a bigger,
Mm,
fatter bonus check. So everybody's really happy with the way it's been going because the
yeah.
AEs are getting like monster deals come through. Um, and we're accomplishing what they asked us to, right? Which is go up market and get bigger
Yeah.
deals.
It's crazy how when you when you incentivize the right way, you attract the right behavior.
Exactly.
And I feel like so many SDR teams get that wrong. Like when it's meeting set and it has nothing to do with closed revenue, it can be a good thing for the SDR because if you're working at a place where nobody closes any deals, then that's tough.
Right.
But at the same point, it's not incentivizing you to do first. It's not incentivizing you to book the bigger deals, but also when you have that in mind, sometimes you get longer in the deal cycle. You're pushing that thing to close, and that's getting you some of that account executive knowledge just because of the incent.
Right. Yeah. Paying attention to the back end of stuff after the first call, you're learning about the whole process and, moving forward, what happens. So when you do become an AE or, can hit the ground running and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I came from a place called Inside Sales Team. They're now called Alley Oop.
Okay.
And that's where I got my start as an SDR about 4 years ago. It was 4 years ago this January. It was my intro to the whole SaaS world and SDRs and A's and everything about sales and marketing, B2B sales and marketing. And so I started there as an SDR, and they're an outsourced sales development shop, basically
Yeah.
appointment setting firm, right?
Sure.
And the name of the game there, because our product was appointments, so we build our clients for appointments that were held, right?
Yeah.
As long as the meeting happens, we're billing you for it.
Mhm.
My CEO was the middleman. He takes his cut and he gives us a little bit of each meeting we set that gets held. So we were incented to get as many meetings as we could.
Yeah.
And because it was an outsourced vendor, you're not 100% um, really embedded with your client, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the ins and outs of the day to day and the passion and culture of that company doesn't always rub off. So it's more
Sure.
about like, how do I get the biggest bonus check, right? So
Yeah.
I was trained early on to just set a meeting at any cost. And, I'm really glad I went through that experience because it taught me a lot about the fundamentals of
Hmm.
setting a meeting, a cold call. You could put any product in front of me in a pitch, and I'm comfortable with like calling 100 people and pitching it. You know what I mean? I'll just jump
Yeah.
right in. Like I don't really care too much about the
Sure.
background. Um, so when I finally came to work for Ambition for real, they were a client of ours. That's how I got to know them, and ended up jumping ship back last September, coming over and officially working for them. And it was completely different, to actually work for the company, be embedded in the company meetings and the culture and the desire to bring in revenue for the company and to be recognized from a full company perspective as part of the company, part of the company, and have a career
Yeah.
path and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I still had those habits of like, I'm going to get a meeting at any cost. Like if
Yeah.
it's, setting a meeting with, maybe a little lower level person, or what we like to call bullying somebody into taking a meeting just to get
Mm.
the meeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I still had some of those habits. So, I came from inside sales team having like 40 completed meetings a month
Holy
because it was
cow.
just like get as many meetings as you can. To then, coming in to work for them officially in September, it kind of starting out that way.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, leadership and our revenue operations head were looking at the numbers, and they're like, we need to get better meetings, we need to get bigger deals, we need to
Yeah.
get higher conversion rates. So they changed everything up in terms of the comp plan, and it
Smart.
did the trick right away. Like
Smart.
within 30 days, um, you know, our meeting held numbers went down, but our conversion to SQL went way up. Our ACV
Mm.
values went way up.
Crazy.
So just by, the way they paid us on comp changed what we were doing. So now I'm going after, higher level people at the right size companies with the right amount of people, and
Sure.
in our ICP, and making sure that they're qualified and not pushing somebody into taking a meeting if it's not going to qualify, because what's the point? I'm not getting paid on it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Okay, so you are at 160, 180% of quota. Like what I think we all are want to address the elephant in the room. Like what's the keys to your success? Like how do you get to those kind of numbers on a day-to-day basis?
Um, well, again, like I think coming up the way I came up at Inside Sales Team was really important for me because it was
Yeah.
like, our CEO had this motto called 10 and 2. He was like, 10 conversations a day, you better get 2 meetings a day, and
Yeah.
then we'll get to where we want to be, right?
Yep.
So 2 meetings a day, 40 meetings a month, 75% completion rate, 30 of them happen. And it was like, 100 calls a day, like
Yep.
we'll give you the data, just dial the phone, talk to people, set the meetings. So it was really old school in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that was what I grew up on or cut my teeth on in as
Yeah.
an SDR.
Yeah.
So I just have this like mentality that if I don't get 2 sets in a day, I feel like I failed, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's not okay to not get a meeting. And like if I work all day and I don't get a meeting,
Yeah.
like I'm feeling it like all night. You know what I mean?
You're
Like
taking that
not in a
personally.
bad way, but like it's there. You know what I mean? I come in the
Yeah.
next morning and it's like, all right, time to get like I can't have 2 in a row.
That's
So
incredible. And how do you do that every day? Like, don't you get some kind of burnout? Like if you don't hit it 2 days, 3 days in a row, or does that just not happen for you?
it does. It actually, I had the worst like 7 days, like 7 business days, right after COVID, like after the lockdown, like full
Yeah.
lockdown, and everybody went remote. Um, I think, it's a little like personally I was affected. I'm at home with 2 kids. My kids were taken out of school, and then me and my
Totally.
wife are at home, both working. She's a full-time student and working,
Dang.
and all of a sudden we've got to like homeschool our kids, and
Yeah.
and I still had to come down to the basement. I was already working remotely, but it was completely different,
Yeah.
once the kids were at home. So I was stressed personally. And then, everybody you talk to was just like, are you kidding me right now? Like you're calling me to sell
Yeah.
me something? Like, don't you know what's going on? You know what I mean? So it was a rough couple weeks. And I think I went 7 days without a set. And it was like definitely eating at me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we had we do call blitzes twice a week, and we got on like the team chat or Zoom to like shoot the shit before the call blitz. And I was like, guys, I haven't set a meeting in like 7 days. Like I really need to get one here. And I ended up getting one on that blitz, and then it's been fine ever since. But um, yeah, I think just weathering that storm and keep moving. Instead of like wallowing in your despair or blaming it on like an external force. It's
Yeah.
just it's the luck of the draw sometimes in
Sure.
sales development. But you just got to keep motivated and keep moving.
Yeah. So talk to me about your process. How do you get a set? First of all, what is a set? Is that 2 meetings?
Set is just like an appointment set, like you
Okay, appointment
set a
set.
demo. Yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah,
All right. So what's your process to get a set? Like what do you do?
yeah. I mean, I prefer the phone. I think the whole Dial Monster nickname isn't really necessarily a nickname of me. I think somebody on my team, threw that out there to you on LinkedIn or whatever. But, I think I do prefer the phone more
Yeah.
than most people. Um, I like, again, that's just what I was trained on, was like no personalization in email, just like hit the phone. We didn't really care about emails. Like just get somebody on the phone, and if you get them on the phone, you can convince them to take a meeting.
Yeah.
But since then, I've evolved a lot. I've been an SDR for a while, so I prefer the phone. I would say I try to make 400 calls a week.
Okay.
Um, so
It's just about what's that, 80 dials a day?
yeah,
85,
around there.
90?
Usually, like my Mondays are pretty like personalized. Like I try to get my prospects into sequence on Mondays and not send a lot
Okay.
of emails, but spend the day like personalizing messaging, doing research, and writing all like 30 to 50 emails on Monday, and I'll
Oh,
make a few calls at the end of the day.
yeah.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is like blasting the phone. So like 100 calls a day on
Oh
Tuesday, Wednesday,
my
Thursday,
gosh.
like following up on those emails that I've sent that I have going out at like 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday. So I
Yeah.
personalize all these emails on Monday throughout the day. I don't like sending people emails on Monday just because I feel my response rate's pretty low. So I personalize all the messaging in the first email. That's the only one I personalize.
Yeah.
With a quick paragraph or a couple sentences. And
What do
then,
you personalize on?
so usually just something off their LinkedIn. Ambition is, a gamification and coaching platform for sales managers and
Yeah.
sales leaders. So anybody that has anything sports related,
Mm,
on their LinkedIn, I jump on that, right?
yeah.
Because there's like a super strong correlation with sports and sales. So like college athletes, right? It's like my go-to. Put the name of their mascot in the subject line. They're gonna open it.
Yeah.
First couple lines like, "Hey Mark, I saw you played rugby at
Sure.
wherever you went to school." College athletes turn sales leaders typically love ambition because they understand the importance of holding reps or
Yeah.
teammates accountable to a playbook,
Yeah.
coaching consistently, celebrating consistently, to keep everybody engaged, and then templated email to follow that up. You know what I mean? So it's just sports. Teaching is the same, like teacher turned sales leader or went to school for that. Content that they've published on LinkedIn or engaged with on LinkedIn. And then from there, I like to reference recommendations they've got
Mhm.
from
That's
their
cool.
peers. So
I like that.
I'll put like their peer's name in the subject line that's from like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
some recommendation, and they'll be like, "What the hell? Like I haven't heard this name in 5 years." And then they'll open the email and be like, "Hey Mark, I saw Steve recommendation of you on LinkedIn talking about how you helped scale up the sales team at Outreach when you were first there,
Yeah.
and blah 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 blah. That relates to ambition because blah 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 blah."
That's
Um,
rad.
yeah, or go to the company, and something about the company. But I try not to spend too much time on it.
Yeah.
The real catch is like, if you take the time to personalize the subject line in the first couple sentences and have some sort of tie-in to your
Yeah.
value prop, like especially since I'm reaching out to sales leaders, they respect it because
Yeah.
90% of the stuff they get isn't that way.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, but I also know that I can't take more than 5 minutes doing that on each person, or I won't finish all of my emails on Monday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a balance because a lot of people get caught up on the personalization
Yep.
and they're like, it's so important. I got to make it perfect.
Yeah.
So they spend too much time and they don't have enough activity,
I agree.
or they don't do any of the personalization at all.
Yeah,
So
there's a balance there.
yeah.
But you're doing 50 on Monday, 30 to 50?
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually get through all 50, unless I'm like really on fire and like focused and like I need to like let's say I had a bad week
Yeah.
last week and I come in on Monday, I had a bad week, I didn't hit my goal for the week, then I'll like make sure that I'm focused. I'm like, "Hey babe, like can you please try to like keep the kids upstairs? I'll do anything you need after 5 o'clock. I need to get through
Gosh.
this. Like cancel my, meeting with my manager or whatever and just bang it out." If I had a great week last week, it's not as a huge deal. You know what I mean?
All right, so not only are you the dial monster, you're the email monster because I think that's an insane amount of output and really awesome for personalization in one day. But I like where your process is going. Before we kind of dive into your phone process, tell me about the sequences that you use. Like how many calls are within the sequence that you put these prospects in? How do you line up that many calls in a week?
Yeah. So I usually call them. I'll call a prospect 4 or 5 times, and I'll
Okay.
say 4 or 5 because there's 3 calls in my sequence.
Okay.
But when I prospect, so the end of my week is when, like throughout the week, my AEs, I support 2 AEs, three AEs actually,
Yeah.
because I do some stuff for the enterprise guy too. Um, so they'll send me accounts throughout the week or be like, "Hey, check this out, check this out." So I'll kind of be like keeping a log of people there. And then on Friday, I'll make sure by the end of the day on Friday that I've got like 50 new people
Okay.
ready to go for Monday. And I'll
Yeah.
basically just put them in my sequence. The first step in the sequence, we use outreach over here.
Yeah.
So not the cadence, but the sequence. The first step's a manual email. So I can just drop people into that sequence and they won't start until I, handle those emails. So on Monday, ideally I come in Monday and I've got 50 people in my manual email bucket that I
Yep.
can just start going through.
Yeah.
And I will call them all as I'm as I'm personalizing that email. I'll call them first to make sure the number's good, because I don't want them in a call sequence if they don't have a good number.
Sure.
If the number's not good for some reason, I'll just put them in an email only sequence and still personalize the first email. So I'll call them on Monday just to make sure that the email's good, and I'll connect with a few people usually, you know what I mean? So maybe
Yeah.
get a meeting or get some referrals or whatever, have some
Yeah.
conversations. And then if it's like, I just use my judgment on like, okay, is this an account that I'm really excited about? Is this a prospect I'm really excited about? Do I know for sure that this prospect has a team of 100 reps under him, which is like a monster account for us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's a big
a
account.
company with 100 sales reps, 100 users on the platform. He's the, VP of inside sales or whatever. If it's like a really exciting prospect for me, I'll call him again later in the day. So that's why I say 4 or 5 calls.
Dang.
So I call everybody, verify the phone number, personalize the email. I hit send, but it doesn't send till 6:30 in the morning on Tuesday.
Yep.
So I get my 50 calls for the day on Monday, just going through all those emails.
Yeah.
And I might make a few more calls if I finish up by the end of the day. I like to call people early in the morning and at the end of the day. I work the
Okay.
East Coast mainly, so 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 4:30 to 6. I
Do
really
you
like to
look at
call people.
does the data say that that's the best time for you guys to make calls, or that's just when you like making calls?
It does say that, but not like drastically. But I find that the conversations I have with people, like my conversion rates are higher at those times.
Hmm.
So because people are either like, dude, what are you, I'm not even in the office yet. Or they're like, hey, what's up? Yeah, nothing's happening right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
That's interesting.
it's like either really cold or really hot when you get somebody, early or late, but it's worth it because typically the only reason somebody answers your phone not during those times from 9 to 5 is if they think you're calling in for like a meeting,
Yeah.
right? Or they're a VP of sales and they think you're a deal,
Yeah.
or they don't have enough power to be important enough to be busy all day long. So
Hmm.
like if they answer the phone during the day, I can still set a meeting with them, but I I'm at a great disadvantage because they're either not the right person, they're thinking that I'm in a meeting that they're in, and
Yeah.
so they're like, "Oh, I better answer this," or they think I'm somebody else, right? They don't just answer because they don't know who you are during 9 to 5 if they're the right person.
I love that. How'd you
So
come up with that data? How'd you figure that out?
just from experience,
Yeah. I guess when you're making 400 dials a week, you figure that out.
Yeah. But if they are the right person, they have the power, um, most likely they're, especially in sales, they totally respect the early morning call, right? Like
Yeah.
they wish their guys were out there, their team, their guys and gals were out there, crushing 8 a.m. calls,
Yeah.
and it's my CRO, Jared, he'll, he'll tell you that he gets an email or LinkedIn message at least once a month from like a sales leader who's like, dude, how do you get your guys to do this? I just got a call from your SDRs 801 or 759. Great job. You know what I mean? Like they
That's tight.
respect that stuff. So it's not, if you're not selling a sales tech, you don't really have that pro, but there's also a lot of cons to selling sales tech too, because you get a lot of unsolicited coaching and advice and feedback. It's like, hey, this is how I would have done that, or
Oh my gosh. Well, there's people salespeople can be so critical if you
right,
don't do it the way they have in mind.
exactly. And that's what I tell like the younger reps on our team. when they get that stuff, I'm like, don't necessarily like take it with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
because you talked to 9 people before you talked to this guy, and they were all like cool with your pitch,
Yeah.
so don't just go throwing it in the garbage just because somebody said. But I have learned a lot of great stuff from people on cold calls too that given me advice. So you got to listen to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's respectful, of course. You always want to be respectful.
Yeah.
Um, what is your pitch? How do you go into a call? How do you prepare? What do the first couple sentences look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, dude, I upfront contract. I asked for 30 seconds or 20 seconds. Like,
Okay.
just try to be high energy, personable,
Yeah.
fast, but very slow in speaking. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
fast to talk, like not a lot of space in between, but slow and clear and articulate in your words.
Yeah.
But I say the same exact thing, man. Like I, do call coaching with our team, or
Yeah.
when I was at Inside Sales Team, and like people would want to switch up their pitch for different personas and all this stuff. And that's great. It's good to
Yeah.
personalize and do research. But the thing for me that I think I've learned over the years is that people aren't listening to anything you say until they've given you their first reason to try to get off the phone, right? Like until you've gotten to
Yeah.
the no or the
Yep.
first objection. They're not actually hearing any words you say. They're maybe picking out 2 or 3 to be like, just so they can like say something back to act like they know what you're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
like super short. Hey, Andy from Ambition, how's it going, Mark? Can I steal 30 seconds to explain why I'm reaching out? Usually they say go or yes or haha, yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't heard that one today. Whatever they say,
Yeah.
and it's just calling from Ambition. Not sure if you heard of us, coaching gamification platform. Can get into specifics if you're interested, but reaching out in regards to your role is running the sales org over there at this awesome podcast show. Wondering if you're looking for ways to like pump up your reps, hold them more accountable, help your manager coach more efficiently, anything like that top of mind for you guys right now.
Okay, hold
Super
on, hold on, hold
general.
on. You are you are so confident on the phone. Like just
Yeah.
from that, how do you build that kind of confidence? Because like I can feel, maybe it's partially your accent, your East Coast accent that brings this like confidence and like power. Like you own the room. Like I feel that when I'm on the phone with you. When you just gave me that pitch, you just made up some BS on the spot. How do you get to that kind of confidence as a new rep? How do you get there?
Just running a script, like I love Kevin Dorsey. So I got exposed to him way back when I was at Inside Sales Team, and then found out that he was a customer of Ambitions at
Yeah.
his last place he worked, Service Titan, and then most recently at Patient Pop.
Yeah, he puts out some
Um,
great content.
but I've always liked the stuff he puts out, and he would write a lot about like, hey, scripts are really important.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important to go off script, but it's
Yeah.
important to have a script and a path to follow and practice so you know where you're going in the call.
Yeah.
And then like I read this thing early on about like Anthony Hopkins, right? And how he reads his script like 200 times
Really?
before he ever starts to act it out. So that it's completely memorized. And that's what a cold call is. It's an act. It's like a scene.
Yeah.
People want to be like they want to be different on every call, so that it's like 100% authentic,
Sure.
and
Sure.
change something for every call.
Yep.
um
That's what
but
people are preaching right now.
yeah,
It's
but
all about personalization. Take a couple minutes. Do this. Do that. It's not what I'm hearing from you.
no, it's not. There's way more than one way to skin a cat, right? Like
Totally.
I do not have all the answers. If I was going to give somebody advice, it's just bust your ass, get good at cold calls, get good at personalizing, get good at LinkedIn, and do as
Yeah.
much of all of them as you can at the same time.
Yeah.
And because like that's the other thing. I think people get good at one of those things, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is my bread and butter. This is what type of SDR I am.
Yeah.
Um, but you're never going to crush and demolish your quota by just being good at personalizing emails,
Come
or just being
on,
good at cold
Andy.
calls, or just doing social. Like
Yeah,
you need to
that's
be
gold right there.
constantly doing all 3 of them. That's why like when I start my day, I just constantly feel that time is like dissolving before my fingertips. You know what I mean? Like I hate internal meetings. I hate like huddles and like chit chat.
Come
It
on,
pisses
my
me
man,
off.
dude.
No, for real.
So, okay, so does your boss, does he know this? Like, how do you, I think this is big for people to know how to interact with your boss so they understand you taking ownership of your calendar. How do you, what's that relationship like? Because I
I mean,
can't imagine
if
you
he
let your
if
boss
he
book
watches
your
this
calendar.
podcast, he'll find out. But no, I think he's got a little bit of an idea. I mean,
Yeah,
I can deal with it, right? Like um I also think that I used to drive myself crazy with not like, you know, taking breaks and stuff like that, just like not wanting to run out of time. And, back when I was at Inside Sales Team, after like seeing The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, where he like becomes a stockbroker and he's like homeless with his son and he becomes a stockbroker. And he like, the one part, he's like, I don't drink water during the day so that I don't have to take a break and go to the bathroom. And I was like, oh man, I always thought of myself like that when I was an SDR at Inside Sales Team,
yeah,
but that's also not healthy. So, I do take breaks and socialize with the team. I do call coaching with my team.
yeah,
And, especially now with the kids at home, I've really learned to relax and like let go a little bit. And because Ambition has built such a great comp plan for me, as long as I'm bringing in great leads and creating great opportunities, like I've been well taken care of. So I don't have to like kill myself as much as I sometimes want to.
yeah,
Um, but I think that it's an interesting topic because SDR teams are at a company are like very unique departments
yeah,
because it's all about that daylight. Like you only have so many hours in the day to do what you
yeah,
need to do. Your job isn't to like, okay, go do this work for 2 hours and like finish this report or like put
yeah,
together this presentation. It's like you have to constantly be doing stuff.
yeah,
So it is also the lifeblood of the company's sales department.
yep,
So sometimes SDRs are looked at, it depends on the culture, are looked at as like entry level positions that, don't get a lot of respect. Or at Ambition, they give us a ton of respect. They
yeah.
understand,
That's
the
cool.
whole company understands the importance of our role. And,
Yeah,
but sometimes it's like, guys, enough chit chat. We got to go like do some work here. We
yeah.
got to go book some meetings.
It, I think there's like a stigma as an SDR who's starting out that you want to like show face to the company. Like you want to go to all the meetings, you want to make sure your boss knows that you're at all this stuff. But as you become more senior, you realize that maybe you're more in a position of power. And actually if I'm able to dictate my day, then I can actually bring in the results that you're looking for, that the company's looking for.
Hmm.
And so that's what I'm getting from you is like you structure your day. Don't let somebody else structure your day. You structure your day. When you structure your day, you're going to get the results that you want.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, and that makes me think of like if somebody's structuring your day, I guess like the thing that it made me think of is like your quota as an SDR is on your back and your back alone, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
if your manager or your VP of sales or your sales enablement trainer or whomever at your company is telling you like, okay, this is what I want you to do. This is what
Yep.
we're going to train you on. You need to make these calls at this time and prospect these accounts and all this stuff. It's great. You need to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go about it and do what you're told to do and do exactly what you're told to do,
Yep.
and then if you don't succeed based on taking those actions, you don't feel any responsibility to that failure because, hey, I
Mm,
did what you told me to do.
yep.
You trained me. You said you were going to train me for a month and then onboard me and ramp me up and get me to hit quota. And if I did what you told me to do, then everything would work. Well, guess what? It's not working. So it's not my fault. It's your fault. There's nothing else I can do. Like that attitude is very prevalent in sales development in general. I
I
think
agree. I
like
agree.
we experienced it a lot inside sales team, and the truth of it is everybody from the top down, from your founders or your CEO to the VP of sales to your sales managers
Yeah.
all have their own number to hit, and
Yep.
they're doing their best to hit that number, but they're not God and they can't make anything happen. You can only make your number happen. And if it's not working doing what you're being told to do, figure something else out,
Yep.
because it's not, you know, just because you're doing what you're told to do, if you're not hitting your number, doesn't mean that you're going to be sticking around forever.
That's
And
gold
that
right there.
that maybe is harsh, but um, I think that we that reps just accept, like, hey, you told me to do this, I did it, it's not working, nothing else I could do.
No ownership.
Yeah,
Own it.
maybe work a little extra, maybe prospect over the weekend, put in 3 months of really hard work, grind every day for 10 hours a day, and you won't have to do it forever, but if you do that for a little bit, you'll be able to like build momentum to
Yep.
move forward.
You
So
listen to you follow Jocko Willnick at all?
a little bit. um to be honest, I don't really, I try not to like think about sales much.
He's a marine. He's like a marine.
Yeah,
I think I don't
like
want to miss it.
motivational.
Yeah, but he says something about he's like, didn't hit your number this month. Good. Didn't didn't have enough time in the day. Good. Like complete ownership
Mm-hmm.
over your life, over your number, over your quota, and I love it. I mean it's exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think there's so much gold there.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of him. I don't think I've actually ever read anything or like watched anything of his, but I'll have to check it out for sure. But yeah, it's like,
Well, you're already on the right path. It'd be a waste of your time. Keep making dials.
yeah, right.
Let's talk a little bit about your background, because I know that there's a lot there, and I think it's super important that we dive into that.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I mentioned already, I didn't get into this thing till I was 31.
How
So
old are you
I
now?
35.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, 4 years ago in January of 2016, I started an inside sales team to get trained up to be an SDR and start setting appointments there,
Yeah.
um, at 31 years of age. Before that, it was like a very interesting story for my 20s. I went to school I went and got my degree in psychology, and while well before I even went to college, in high school I started drinking and using drugs and kind of running with the wrong crowd a little bit, but nothing majorly serious. um, but definitely started down kind of the wrong path, in high school. Went to college, finally free from my parents.
Mm,
um, you know Played football and rugby in college, but also just like really let loose, with the
yeah, sure.
partying, and started trying harder drugs and got addicted to heroin in college,
Holy
and
crap.
somehow graduated with my degree, um, and would have kind of spurts of being clean from drugs and stuff a little bit, but came back home to Buffalo, got into the music scene. I was a barista, like working at a coffee shop, got into the hip hop scene. I was really into hip hop and rapping and stuff. So basically partied for another few years, and rapped and, did shows and stuff.
What
That
was
was
your
kind
hip
of,
hop name?
who is he?
Oh, that's tight.
Who is he? HOOIZZY.
Can we
Um,
find you on Spotify or anything? Do you have any music still out there?
SoundCloud. I actually just did an anthem for Ambition. I just got back in the studio and wrote a song for Ambition
That's tight.
called Ambition, and it's all about ambition. It's pretty sick. You can check that out on SoundCloud. Um, but hadn't been in the studio for about 10 years prior to that, recording. Um, but yeah, so I was into hip hop. That was like my whole thing for a while, and then my son was born. My oldest, Isaac, he's 11 now,
Yep.
and when he was born, I wanted to like be a good dad and take care of business. I was like, all right, it's time to grow up.
Yeah.
do something with your life. So I was like, how do I make money to like be a dad and like a family man and pay the bills and all that stuff?
Are you still on drugs at this point, or are you clean?
Still, yeah, I'm still using at this point. My idea was like, oh, now that I'm going to be a dad, like it's time to clean up your act and quit. But that's hard, easier said than done.
Sure.
So I got a job selling Kirby vacuum cleaners for a few months,
No way.
door to door. And then it was like working like 60 hours, 70 hours a week, like driving around in a van with a bunch of guys knocking on doors, like trying to shampoo people's carpets and give them demos of a vacuum cleaner.
Oh
So that
my
was
gosh.
my first introduction to sales, but and I did okay at it. But there was weeks it was like purely commission based, it was like super sketchy.
Yeah.
They like run you into the ground, you know what I mean? And did that for about 5 or 6 months. Um, and then a friend of my brother's got me into debt collections. And in Buffalo, debt collections is like a big business. There's like hundreds of shops that do debt collections. And I did that for about 5 years.
That was probably your
And
intro to cold calling.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's where I got really comfortable on the phone, and I did really well. But I was like super messed up at this point, and the culture in debt collections is even is a breeding ground for like addiction and substance
Jeez.
use and stuff. You know what I mean? Tons of pills and partying, and there's so many companies that people just bounce around. So if you're good, like anybody will hire you. You know what I mean? So I probably worked at like 20 different collection agencies for about 5 years, just like going from one to the other. Not showing up to work for a week and going to a different one. That type of situation.
Yeah.
Um, until I finally like hit bottom. Got arrested for stealing money and didn't have anywhere to go. And I was like 29 and it burned every bridge, used up every friend and family member at this point,
Jeez.
and it was either like living on the streets or going to rehab. So I ended up in a detox and ended up at the Salvation Army for 6 months in
Holy
like a
cow.
work therapy program, and got introduced to AA, and just like accepted it, surrendered, they say, and said like, okay, I have screwed up my whole life. Like I have nothing to show for anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to start over and, live this different way. And I got a job at like a grocery store, slicing deli meat,
Dang.
and then went from there to a like clay factory making architectural ceramic and like
Oh my
doing
gosh.
manual labor. Like it was basically like a big Play-Doh factory where you like make clay and squeeze it through these big machines and dry it in kilns.
Yeah.
Um, making like $11 an hour, working 50 to 60 hours a week because I could get overtime. And at this point, I had met my wife, and we were pregnant with our second son, Brian, who's 4 now, and we were engaged to get married. And I was like I need to make more money than
Yeah.
$11 an hour, and I
Yeah.
can't be working 60 hours a week busting my ass at this clay factory. So my
Jeez.
buddy worked the inside sales team, and he was like, dude,
Yeah.
you should come over here, you can make good money. I was like, I don't want to like do the phone thing again. I did that at
Yeah.
debt collections, I hated it. It stole my soul, all this stuff. He was like, no, this is different, this is totally different, I promise, just try it, you can make good money.
Yeah.
So I finally went in for an interview and started there when I was 31, and
Holy cow.
finally was like, wow, like this is super legit. Like I don't feel like my boss is a sketchball. Um, like we're actually helping people, and I started learning about SaaS, tech,
Yeah.
because we worked with lots of different clients. So I was seeing the inner workings of all these different companies,
Yeah.
having conference calls with VPs of marketing and VPs of sales and CEOs of all these different companies all over the country that we were helping. They were like, we need sales development and we don't know how to do it ourselves. And it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is so crazy, like that these like super smart, successful people can't figure out how to book meetings and like build an SDR team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's really difficult stuff. But I learned really quickly to just follow a script. I did what I was told, and then I started learning from the people around me,
Yeah.
trying different stuff. Wasn't afraid to like break the rules a little bit to like see if something worked, and quickly, made a name for myself, being successful on multiple projects over there, and was like, whoa, this is really cool. I can make a bunch of money working 40 hours a week by just like focusing, learning, facing my fears, getting on the
Yeah.
phone, dealing with rejection. And then I realized that at Inside Sales Team, I was even being limited to the amount of money I could make because it was an
Yeah.
outsourced vendor. So, finally coming over to Ambition and now feeling like I'm really part of a team
Yeah.
that is like the leader in their space and um, really helping people, delivering a product that is authentic and has integrity and like really works. It's cool, and
Yeah.
my kids and my wife are, amazing. Like my wife's going to school right now and she's working a little bit too, like as a, you know, like for the college she's going to.
Very cool.
But just being able to support a family and allow her to go through school while she's also homeschooling our kids right now and doing everything else around the house.
Yeah.
um, it's really cool. I'm lucky, and I think just being grateful to have that opportunity every day is one of the things that powers me through, just like trying to get it done.
This is like one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. Thanks so much for sharing. It's like, I mean, I think it's just amazing to see. I mean, from heroin addict to 180% of quota. Like for you coming in and doing the SDR job, when people start complaining and being like, "Oh, it's hard, it's this and that," you must be like, "Dude, we don't have it that bad."
Yeah, that exactly, and that's why. And I'm not going to teach that to anybody, or like
Yeah.
I'm not going to get mad at a 23-year-old for coming out of college and whatever. Like I didn't grow up and act like an adult. I still don't act like an adult most of the time, but like I was acting like a 14-year-old for most of my life until a
Yeah.
few years ago. You know what I mean? So I get it, dude. But I think having a humble attitude of I don't deserve anything,
Mm.
you know, like yeah, I don't deserve anything, so whatever I get, I'm really grateful for.
Well, what I think is rad is that you are super humble, but you exuberate this extreme confidence. Most people that are really confident are also really cocky. You're like humble, but then you exude this great confidence because of your past and what you've gone through, and I just think that's so awesome. Has there been any like mentor or guru or anybody that you've learned a lot from that's kind of got you where you are today?
um I mean, just like my family,
Mm,
my brothers specifically,
yeah,
but my whole family. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so
dang.
um all of my brothers and sisters are like really happy and like successful.
Mm,
Like they're just like legit happy, you know what I mean? They're doing
that's
stuff
cool.
that they care about and they love, and they've you know are just awesome. So being kind of the black sheep of the family for a while, like because I was troubled and unhappy and
Yeah,
you know messing with the wrong stuff and making them worry about me for years and years and years. um I always just wanted to be like a normal part of my family, you know what I mean? Like
mm.
so that people didn't have to worry about me anymore and everybody could just be like, yeah, he's like cool now. He's good. He's okay, and he's like
Yeah,
helps us with stuff. And so just being part of that has really helped me.
mm,
And then from a sales perspective, like, Brian Vital over at
okay,
Inside Sales Team where I
Yeah.
started there. Brian and Gabe were really just the people who trained me, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and taught
That's
me the
cool.
ropes. So
That's cool.
um, a lot of the people from inside sales team, you know, Tanner Robinson, he's over at Gong now, and Alan Hallis, um, those people were where I learned all about sales development. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Where do you kind of see yourself in the next couple years and at Ambition?
I'm on the, you know, I'm interested in being an AE. I've never actually sold full sales cycle yet.
Yeah.
You know, being an SDR for 4 years
Crazy.
is like, you know, sometimes you know, it's like, I don't want to be an SDR anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So unfortunately, starting at like an outsourced vendor, you're not on that career path. So I kind of
Yeah.
had to start over when I got to Ambition last September. And, you know, I think I'm helping to like create a foundation for the SDR team for the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to be an AE.
That's cool.
I'm not into the management thing.
Dial
So
monster, email monster. I love it still. I'm gonna keep calling you that. I
that's
think it's
cool.
right on.
Thank you.
What advice would you give someone that's coming into the role? I mean, you have so much life lived, and you're also much older than a lot of SDRs starting out. And I think that, you know, whatever kind of advice you could give people would be incredible.
Yeah, I think just that attitude of like grind, just like grit and grind, like work your ass off. Don't expect anything in return for it. You know, don't like don't don't ask for the promotion, you
Yeah.
know? Like wait till somebody taps you on the shoulder. And
Hmm.
if you bust your ass as hard as you possibly can, like somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and they're
What
going
if
to
that
tell you,
doesn't? What if that doesn't come?
yeah, I mean, obviously every situation is different, you know, and like you got to find the right fit.
Yeah.
So
Is it?
it,
Do you stay at a company and just keep trying to? What do you think? What's your take on that?
I mean, I think if there's learning to be had, like if you're learning stuff, if there's people to learn from,
Yeah.
I always felt like I was at inside sales team for 3.5 years. And I always felt like I was on my way up, right? And that's at
Yeah.
a SDR shop where there's not really any promotion track, right?
Yeah.
It's like a very small management team, and then everybody else is a rep. But I always felt like I was being treated well because I was important to the company because I was working my ass off and I was
Yeah.
bringing in a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
So when when I stopped feeling that way, that's when I looked for something else. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I
That's
didn't
cool.
feel like there was a way up.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people in this day and age, um, or what I saw a lot of at Inside Sales Team was like what I was talking about before is like, I'm just going to do what you told me to do.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then it's not my fault. And I'm going to either ask for like a raise anyway,
Yeah.
or I'm going to go work somewhere else. And
Hmm.
like, that's, you know, I see it a lot where people bounce around from place to place doing the same thing, never really making a name for themselves because they're looking for that better place, you
Well,
know?
and then you never become an AE. Like you
Yeah.
never, if that's your goal and you keep switching, you're never gonna get promoted.
But I mean, it's, yeah, like there's some good places, there's some bad places, there's some in the middle places. So you got to have a sense, I think, of like talking to leaders and, you know, making connections on LinkedIn with people that you can get advice from and
Yeah.
figure out if maybe the grass is actually greener on the other side. But like,
Yep.
like put a couple years in at something, you know, before
Mm.
you expect like a huge return.
Yeah. Be
Put a
patient.
couple years into it. Like, yeah, be patient, bust your ass, and just try to learn from everybody around you. There's a lot of learning to be had. If you have an attitude of like just like not deserving, you know, like I don't deserve anything I don't work for.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for what I have. I'm going to bust my ass today as hard as I possibly can and learn something new. Then you're going to be fine, I think. And also, maybe, you know, sales development definitely is not for everybody either.
Yeah. What would you say are your top tools that you use
I
besides
mean,
the phone?
yeah, I'm pretty simple. I just got this rotary phone and this phone book over here, and I just rip through it. That's all I, we no. I just use Salesforce, Outreach, Zoom Info, and LinkedIn, and that's about
Boom.
it.
The
Yeah,
core.
yeah,
Just keep it simple. You don't need all that other crap. Pick up the
yep.
phone, make dials. You don't need to be sending like 100 videos of yourself. Just like be confident on the phone.
Yeah, video is cool. I don't use it too much, and I'm guilty of being stuck in my ways in sometimes, but I do use video sometimes. I think it's helpful. It's definitely helpful in the right environment. That's the thing. Like some people never answer the phone. Absolutely,
Yeah.
just will never answer the phone, or you don't have a number for them.
Yep.
Some people won't reply to your email. Some people are opening your email, but they won't reply, and you don't have a phone number for them. That's a perfect opportunity to send them a customized video, personalized video.
Yeah.
Some people are active on LinkedIn and nowhere else. Some people only answer the phone. Some people will read your emails and see your videos, but unless you actually call them, they're never going to take a meeting. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
just got to be doing everything to everybody.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dang. Well, Andy, I mean, like, I think you gave us the lowdown, man. I think there's so much to be learned from you. How can people connect with you? Like, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn, for sure. Hit me up. I'll connect with you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. But we're gonna wrap it up.
Cool, man. I
It was a
appreciate you
pleasure
having
talking to
me.
you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you too, for sure.
All right.
Really appreciate the time.
You're the man. Dial Monster. Andy Dewey. See you later.